word of the day is juxtaposition. I feel like I say this a lot, but for real, this is one of probably like my top 10 favorites. I love this one. I'm going to teach it to you, and you're going to start seeing this thing everywhere. This is a really common artistic trick. So make sure this is the only thing on your screen. Make sure your phones are away, all that good stuff. Okay, so this could happen in written art, but juxtaposition can also happen in visual art. So anything in the art world could have juxtaposition. So juxtaposition is where you're forcing two things that usually don't go together. You put those things together. It could be in writing, it could be in art, and it does this effect of having this really cool compare and contrast. So Jake actually gave me this picture yesterday, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. I'm going to use that for juxtaposition. And then I forgot that I was teaching juxtaposition today. So perfect timing, Jake. So remind me the video game this came from. Which Jake told me was basically Pokemon, but how did you describe it? Yeah, exactly. So it's like evil Pokemon. So this picture is juxtaposition, because you have these like fluffy sheep, which, you know, you would normally think of as like cute and cuddly, but they're holding machine guns. That is juxtaposition. Ignore your neighbors, guys. So we force two things that normally wouldn't go together. We force them together, and now we have this cool kind of artsy comparison. So I'm going to show you a bunch more examples. Go ahead and screen space and forward for just a minute here. So I'm going to start with a funny example. Juxtaposition can be just really cool and artistic. It can also be funny. I love The Office. This comes from The Office. So they're going to juxtapose poor Kevin and this guy who was actually really talented on the drums. And then you've got Kevin who is not. Remember, except for my creative writing 2 kids, everyone's screen facing forward. So the comparison here, right? It's making him look extra talented, and poor Kevin looks extra pathetic because he's really not as talented. So that's one silly example of juxtaposition. Because again, we put two things together, it makes them stand out that much more. So I've got this little presentation for you. So this one is old Joker versus new Joker, and it's actually not even the most new Joker, right? But just forcing those pictures together, you can quickly see, wow, Joker really changed there. And then here's another example. So this is a more artistic juxtaposition. We've got a picture of a tree that's healthy and green, juxtaposed or put together with a picture of a mushroom cloud. So it's almost this idea of life and death. So we juxtapose two things, and it has this compare and contrast idea. This is juxtaposition in a marching band. So this is pretty creative juxtaposition. They actually have a lot of juxtaposition happening here. So the first thing is, what colors are standing out here, guys? Yep, dark and light. So, or black and white, and then sometimes the white goes away and we're left with just the darker black color. So that was purposely done. They juxtaposed that on purpose because the white stands out so much more against the black. It was juxtaposed together. They also are juxtaposing the way that they're moving, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes a curly pattern, sometimes straight lines. So they're purposely forcing those together. And then the other thing, if that's not enough juxtaposition, sometimes the song is bright and cheery and happy. And then sometimes then the next song right after, they juxtapose kind of a really serious sounding song right after. So we've got juxtaposition all over the place there. Then this is a literary juxtaposition. So it has a spoiler alert, I'm so sorry. But this is a really, really cool older novel that if you ever want to read a classic that's not like big and scary and gigantic, I actually have this one over here on my favorite shelf. This is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it is all about juxtaposition. So in this novel, you have two characters who are constantly compared. They're constantly juxtaposed. Dr. Jekyll is a dinner party hosting churchgoer. Basically, he's just a really good guy. And then you've got Mr. Hyde, who's a suspected murderer. And they keep clashing over and over and over in this novel. See how tiny it is? And here's the spoiler alert. in the end, it's revealed that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are actually the same person. That Dr. Jekyll drinks a potion that he created and he turns into Mr. Hyde. But you don't know that until the end, and it's really cool. And the trick with this story, they make each other, even though it's technically the same person, you don't know that until the end, they make each other stand out. A really evil character juxtaposed with a really good character. The good guy will make the bad guy seem worse. The bad guy will make the good guy seem even that much better. So that's why often in creative writing, I love this trick. Plus, it's just really cool. So there's other examples too, because again, juxtaposition happens all over the art world. So this one happens, I haven't been to very many jazz games, which is embarrassing because the Delta Center was right next to my high school. But one time, this was like way back in like 2008, I was at a jazz game, and halftime, was it called halftime in basketball? That's so embarrassing that I don't know that. Okay, so halftime, the jazz dancers come out, and there's just like typical hip hop music playing. And the jazz dancers are kind of that cliche hip hop. This is kind of what they're dressed as. And they're dancing, and it's really fun. But then there's kind of a record scratch. It's like, and they all freeze. And everyone was like, oh, what's happening? The whole audience was kind of like, did they just mess up, right? And then, as they're frozen, you get classical music starting to play. And out come prancing other jazz dancers dressed as a typical ballerina. And they're like dancing throughout all the frozen hip hop dancers. And, especially you wouldn't think of that for just, like jazz dancers, that they could be so artistic, but they absolutely are. They're artists. And they're using this kind of art to make themselves stand out and to be memorable, right? And so the ballerinas stood out that much more because they were juxtaposed against hip-hop dancers and vice versa, right? It goes both ways. So hopefully you're starting to kind of like realize oh, maybe I'm seeing juxtaposition more than I realize. I've got just a couple more examples and then we'll be done. But juxtaposition honestly is a more advanced kind of literary trick. So I think getting some extra examples is helpful. So even in something like a kid's movie, you've got juxtaposition. This is the Olaf Summer song. If it works. Okay, let's skip ahead to where he gets going here. Oh, come on. Hold on, let me fight with my technology for a second.
You don't have much experience with heat. Nope. But sometimes I like to close my eyes and imagine what it'd be like when summer does.
One of the reasons this whole song is funny is because of juxtaposition. We won't watch the whole thing. And like Olaf's purposeful stupidity here, that obviously they wrote him to be kind of not so smart. But the juxtaposition of a snowman on a bright sunny beach, that's what I mean. If you think about the definition, pause this, right? Let's go back, right? In art or writing, we purposely force two things together that normally wouldn't go together, and all of a sudden it makes them stand out. Okay, I have one last example, and then we're done, okay? This is another literary juxtaposition. So this is a really famous poem. You don't even have to understand what the poem says to see that there's juxtaposition. So this is by Robert Frost, and he wrote, "Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if I had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice." So again, even if you don't understand that poem, you've got that juxtaposition of hot and cold, fire and ice, right? So that being said, for your You Try box today, I want you to see if you can make up a new piece of juxtaposition to show me that you understand. So you could be thinking of a situation and put something in that situation that where you usually wouldn't see those two things together. You could think of two really opposite kinds of characters and put those characters, you could juxtapose them together. You could think of colors that might be interesting to juxtapose because those two colors together really stand out. Hopefully that gives you some ideas. But everybody think about that You Try box. Remember, you can't give me something that's already on the chart. You gotta come up with something. And I know this one's a little bit tougher. So let me grab you with tickets. Who has a cool example of juxtaposition that you'll let other people share or steal? Can't have light without dark. Boom. Absolutely. What else? Yep. Nice when we have those kind of cliche characters and we juxtapose them, they make each other stand out that much more. Yeah. A serial killing teddy bear? Yeah, absolutely. Juxtaposition. Okay, last one, because these are great. Yeah, joy and sadness and those characters and their personalities make the other ones stand out so much more. Yeah, if you were stuck, steal one of those, examples. And everybody go turn that in. And before